Hello, everybody. This is Jason, and this is another version of Off the Cuff. So I had somebody ask me about music documentaries, and they were asking me like what music documentaries are good. And the one thing I immediately thought of was a series of DVDs that they made that was called Classic Albums for a while. I think that it still exists, but they rebranded it. But it's just basically they take an album that's a famous rock album and they break it down and they talk about it and they release them out as like individual. They used to release them out as individual DVDs, but I think nowadays they just have them up. I've seen some on Amazon Prime, so I know they do have some of them there, but I have a few of them. Let me show you a couple. Like, this is a newer one for Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, where they walk through the recording process of that album. Here's Dark Side. The original ones were a little bit less exciting. Like, here's the one for the Joshua Tree. Here's the one for Who's Next. And, like Nirvana Nevermind. We read Transformer. Let's see here. We also got Cream Disraeli Gears and Black Sabbath Paranoid. So these are the ones that I have. But I know there are other ones. I know there's like one for Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. I believe there's one for A Night at the Opera by Queen. I believe there's one for the Who Sell Out. I believe that there's one for I want to say Def Leppard Hysteria. I believe there's one for one of the Judas Priest albums. I believe it's the one with the razor on it, which I can't remember what it's called. I will say though, the thing that I like about these though, long story short, is that they have good content. What I mean by good content is they actually go into the studios and they talk to the musicians that made the work and they talk to the producers and people like that, and they actually talk about the process of making the tracks. They go through, they sit at a mixing board, they will isolate certain tracks so that you can hear them by themselves. And it's an interesting way to learn about the process of recording. I'm not a big fan when it comes to musical documentary stuff with I call it the behind the VH1 behind the music kind of documentary. I don't care about who slept with who or who did what drugs or what all that kind of stuff. Anything that's more of the salacious sort of tabloid stuff, I don't care about that stuff. I just, that's not my interest. When I'm looking into something and I want to get information about a band or a musician or whatever it is, I want to know about the process that they did to make the music. What was the thought process behind the writing? What did they do for the recording? Like what kind of recording techniques they did and things like that. And it's interesting to see what people did and how they did it. It's also good for you because it's good to see how other people do things. Like for me, as somebody that's never had an opportunity to work in a real studio with a profession in a professional environment, and I've been doing my own recording all this time, I've had to kind of figure it all out kind of in a backward sort of way. So watching these videos was very helpful for me because it gave me ideas about how they actually do something in a real studio because, I don't really know how they do it because I just had to figure out how to do it my own way, you know. So, I'm kind of like the guy who's trying to reverse engineer something. It's a nice idea to reverse engineer something, and you can figure out a lot of things that way. But, it's also nice to be inside on the process and have somebody actually walk you through all the steps and give you the full information on it so you can kind of be better informed about what you're trying to do, you know. And But this is a really cool series of DVDs, and I highly recommend all of them. They all have interesting things in there that are really cool, and they all get in behind the hood and they really talk about the process of actually creating the albums. I mean, and it's just it's always interesting to see how bands work and how the recordings work and things like that. Even something as goofy as like Johnny Rotten didn't sound good on the better microphones, so they switched him back over to an SM58 because he sounded better through the just regular rough and ready stage mic that like everybody uses, rather than some super fancy studio mic. It's stuff like that that's interesting, and it's fun to see how bands do what they do. Uh, so, if you want a good rock documentary, I would recommend the Classic Albums franchise. There's a few other things out there that are pretty good here and there. So you just kind of look out for it. Now, this is not for like what good like rock and roll concert DVDs or things like that. That's a whole separate subject that we could get into, or like live albums or things like that. Because believe me, there's a whole different thing of that. This is just for like stuff that's like, hey, I kind of want to know more about how they do things in the studio. And I'm kind of interested about how some of my favorite bands recorded stuff that they recorded. So, strong recommendation for that. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Today's my mom's birthday. I know she doesn't watch these, but happy birthday, mom, anyway. And have a great rest of your day, guys. Thank you.